Visit Britain reckons that the monarchy brings in well over $750 million a year from overseas tourists. The monarchy is a massive boon to Britain's tourism industry, isn't it?
Well, the evidence doesn't really support this. I mean, we've challenged Visit Britain on these figures because what they're really doing is taking all of the sites of interest around London and around Britain that have any kind of relationship with the royal family historically, and they're adding up all the revenue that those sites of interest bring in. Now, the key question is if the royal family were no longer living in Buckingham Palace, would people stop coming to Britain or domestically coming to London from within Britain? And there's no evidence that they would stop. So, obviously when people come here, they want to go to places like Buckingham Palace, Tower of London, and other palaces and houses around the country. But they would still want to do that if we didn't have the monarchy in place. I mean, it's about our history and our heritage. It's not about the way in which we currently do things. And we've got evidence in London itself with the Tower of London being far more popular as a destination than Buckingham Palace. And Tower of London, of course, hasn't been occupied by the royal family for a very long time.
The wedding, though, is doubtless going to be good for tourism, isn't it? It's going to bring in revenue that otherwise we just wouldn't have had.
Well, again, the evidence isn't there. I mean, we again, Visit Britain were coming out with this claim that the tourism figures were going to be very good, but we requested their internal research, and the only evidence they had was that it would actually have a negative impact. And this is quite common with major events. A lot of people come for the event, but everyone else then stays away if they don't want to see that event, because obviously they're concerned about crowds and hotels being more expensive than they would have otherwise been. So the net effect is a negative pressure on tourism figures. So we'll have to wait and see what actually happens, and there will be big crowds here on the day, of course there will, but you'll see that there are a lot of people staying away and doing other things, and the evidence is already coming through that that's the case. Travel companies within the UK not reporting any significant increase in bookings for that weekend.
Are you all right with a motorbike with that? Yes.
In case you use your questions, you want to just bring it towards
Yes,
you.
sorry, yeah. I probably won't use my questions.
Oh, right.
Actually, but,
Okay. Right.
4 billion people, though, are expected to watch on TV worldwide.
4 billion.
That's what I've read. Okay, millions and millions of people are going to watch on TV worldwide. I mean, you cannot buy that kind of advertising, though, can you, for the tourism industry here?
Well, I don't think that Britain needs a lot of advertising for the tourism industry. We are an exceptional country. We are a fascinating place to come and visit. And we have so many different things to draw people in, whether it's our popular contemporary culture, whether it's our history and our heritage, whether it's our sport. All sorts of things will draw people here. Everyone in the world knows about us for all sorts of different reasons, and a bit of extra publicity around a wedding is not going to make a significant difference. Now, the figures in terms of viewing figures around the wedding, I think, are just being invented by people who are hoping that it's going to pay off for advertising, or hoping that it's going to try and justify the public expenditure on the event. But there have been figures quoted to me of billions of people. There are only 6 billion people in the world, and a very large number of them don't have access to TV. So it's a bit of a myth, I think, that it's going to be that much of a boon to tourism.
Now, to go back to stuff you've already talked about, but if we can do it again in kind of different answers, Graham. So, what do you believe would happen to tourism if the monarchy here was abolished?
Well, I mean, I don't think it would have any serious impact either way. I mean, I think that it would open up certain places to tourists and probably attract more visitors, certainly in the initial period after getting rid of the monarchy. But I certainly don't think it will have a negative impact. The act of getting rid of the monarchy will be a historic act and will be news right around the country, and that in itself will showcase Britain as a very proud country that has stood up and said, we're going to do something else, we're going to govern ourselves differently. But also it would be big news that the palace is going to be opened up to tourists all year round, and people can wander through all the rooms, they can wander through all the gardens, and they can do that at any time of the year, and I think that's probably going to be a big draw as well. But I mean, ultimately it's not going to have a long-term impact. It's just, we are what we are, and people will come here for all sorts of reasons, and I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that we don't elect our head of state.
Tell me about the comparison you make between, say, Buckingham Palace, as things are now, between Buckingham Palace and the Tower of London, as far as tourism goes.
Well, I mean, there is a clear difference between the tourist attraction value of Tower of London and Buckingham Palace. There are thousands and thousands of people going to Tower of London all the time, and it raises so much money through ticket sales that it never has to go to the government for handouts in order to maintain the buildings and the infrastructure. Buckingham Palace is only open for 2 months of the year, and it's only a small part of the palace open, and because they aren't open all the year round, they have to keep going back for handouts in order to rebuild the building and do maintenance. So clearly, if the building is not occupied, it's going to be a much bigger draw, and it's going to be able to generate the revenue that's needed.
So you believe that tourism could thrive quite well without the royal family?
I think it could and it will thrive very well without the royal family. It's our heritage and history obviously plays a strong part in our tourist industry, but heritage and history is about things that have happened in the past. It's not about how we govern ourselves now, and of course no one ever sees. Sorry, what was the question?
So you believe then that tourism could thrive if the royal family was abolished?
Yeah, I mean, it will thrive when the royal family is abolished. I mean, clearly people are down here, they're not seeing the royal family, they're seeing the buildings. It's our heritage and our history, which is very compelling and very interesting and plays an important part in our tourist industry, and that will always play an important part in our tourist industry.
What are your thoughts then on the wedding?
Well, I mean, the serious side for us is that this is about our political system and about our democracy, and the wedding is being staged as a very major event, as a PR event really to promote the monarchy and to promote William as a future king. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on tourism. I think if there's any impact, it's going to be negative, because a lot of people are going to stay away assuming it's going to be busy and that hotels will be expensive. And I think the evidence is there that it's not the big boon that some people think. But for us, it is a PR event. It is about more serious issues than whether or not we sell hotel rooms and flights into the UK. We'll certainly be doing all we can to sort of make that point and challenge it on that basis.
And just finally, I just want a kind of summed up answer. This received wisdom we have then that the monarchy and tourism go hand in hand, and it's very good for tourism. What would you say about that idea?
Well, this idea that the monarchy brings in tourists has been around, I don't know how long, but for quite a while now, and it's become an accepted notion that people just... it kind of works like a slightly false logic. We have lots of tourists, we have a monarchy, therefore the monarchy brings in tourists. But we've never seen any evidence to support that at all. Clearly people come here for all sorts of reasons, and we can do just well without the monarchy being in office.
Is it a myth, though?
It is a myth that the monarchy brings in tourists. So there isn't a single shred of evidence that I've ever seen, and I've been looking, that supports the idea that people come here because we have the monarchy. Clearly when they're here they come and see the palace, but they don't make those flights around the world just because we don't elect our head of state.
And just finally, I mean, some people watching will think you're just being a bit po-faced about the wedding, really.
Do I look po-faced? I mean, we have to understand that the monarchy is a serious part of our constitution. It is actually where power comes from in Britain, to anybody, particularly if you're living in a country that is a republic and does have democracy, answer the question yourself. Do you want the monarchy in your country? The answer is probably no. So why should we have to put up with it in our country? So it is a serious issue, and we do have a serious point to make, and we're going to use the opportunity to make that point very loudly.
Fantastic. Thanks, Graham.
Okay.
Terrific.